So the last few videos we were talking about variables, and we're pretty much done talking about variables. There's only a few more topics that we didn't actually get to in the previous videos, and they're semi-important topics, and they're more things that are actually just useful to know. And so the topics we are going to be covering today are our case sensitivity, the declaration shortcut, printing decimals, and also order of operations, some things that we didn't actually get to. So first is case sensitivity, and this simply means that variables of different cases in their name are different variables. So all of these variables shown here are separate variables. Variable within a capital A or a capital V are completely separate variables from each other. And so if you were using them, they would act as they were named completely different things. So if we look at this example right here, this would actually give us an error because lives with a capital L doesn't actually exist. It would say, what do you mean, where's lives? Why am I trying to print something that doesn't exist? Because the lives we declared only has a lowercase l. So that's case sensitivity, and it's something to watch when you're writing code. Make sure you're using the same cases. If you're not, you'll get some errors while you're working. Next is the declaration shortcut. And all this means is if you have multiple variables of the same type you want to declare at the same time, you can do that on one line. So if we have cats, lives, and dogs are three different variables that are int types, we can declare it as shown here. And this lets us declare three variables of int rather than saying int cats, int lives, int dogs. And same with any other type, so for double price and interest, we've declared five variables on two lines here. And if you know their starting values, you can assign them as well. All you got to do is put equals to 9. So if we don't know what cats is right now, but we know what lives is, and we know what price is and dog. And so we can give those a starting value. So that is the declaration shortcut. Next is printing decimals, and we'll get to that just with an example. And so right here we have an example, and all this does is we have a price with that is $5.12, and we need to calculate the total with the tax. So we just multiply our price with the tax to find what the tax is for our item and adds it back to price so we can add the tax on. Then we print out the total here. So let's see what happens when we run this program. And so we get a total which is $5.7856. Well, we don't normally work with anything beyond 2 decimal points when we're working with money. So what if we wanted to round this and print out only to the 2 decimal points? Well, we can do this using the printf statement. You can round the numbers you are printing out. And to do this, if we want to round to 2 decimal points, all we write is dot 2 or period 2 right after the percent sign. So we say we are having a long float to 2 decimal points. So if we save this and compile and run, you will see that now it correctly rounds the 78 to a 79 because 5 rounds up, and we get a total that is $5.79, which is very useful if you are working with decimal numbers. You can also use other numbers, so if I used .3, which doesn't make sense in this case, but you could do it, and this would give us to 3 decimal points. That is printing decimals, and we only have one topic left for this video, and that is order of operations. Order of operations, you know, when you're working in math, you do certain operations first, and you work with brackets first, then you do multiplication and division, and then finally you do addition and subtraction. When C is evaluating your expressions, it follows these same rules. So it can have some interesting consequences if you are not careful. Here is a program that totals 3 different items and calculates the tax for those items. So it adds the 3 items and then adds the tax, or at least that's how it should be. And then it prints out the total to 2 decimal points, as we've covered in the last bit of this video. Before we run this, let's actually try and calculate the total ahead of time and see what we're supposed to get. So let's add up our items. And then let's multiply that by 1.13 to give us our total tax. So if we round this across, this should be 18.52. That is our final answer. So let's just clear this and run our order.c file. So this gives us 17.22, which is not 18.52. And as we talked about, order of operations does matter. When C is looking at this expression, it says, well, there's multiplication in here, so let's do that first. It multiplies the tax by item 3, then adds item 1 and 2. So this means that the tax is actually only being applied to item 3, and these two items are tax free. So how do we fix this? Well, the easiest way is to place brackets, and if we just put brackets around item 1, 2, and 3, this says evaluate inside here first before you talk about anything else. So it adds the three items together, then multiplies it by the tax. So if we run this version now, it gives us the correct answer we are looking for. So make sure that you are expressing how you want the calculations to be done in the right order. So use as many brackets as you need to make it very clear to the compiler what needs to be done.